Welcome to another vintage fishing reel service video. In this episode we have a Shakespeare Wondereel spincast reel, 1702 model DJ. So this one was first made in 1972. So I got this today at a flea market for $5. Seems like all my reels I get for $5. Well, that's probably because in many cases that's about all I'm willing to pay, unless it's something I really want. But this one seems to be working fine. It's just a little tight, so it just needs to be serviced, hopefully. And so let's go ahead and get started. Line stop is really dry, so if something were to happen that would break or something, this one would be a pretty easy one to replace with an O-ring. But it's starting to come up already a little bit. I'll leave it for now, but of course you could. This comes up too much more. It's something you probably want to glue down. And there's your little pickup pin. Little bit of wear here, but not a cut. And the pickup pin looks good. And of course there's a little abrasion there from the line on the line stop, but those can go on the parts tray. Don't know if that's the original clip that was on there or not, but I just don't know. It looks like it looks reasonable. And let's see here. What is that? Is that maybe? No, that's got to come off of there, I think. Trying to see if that spool is built into the. Doesn't make sense that the spool's built in, because why would you have an E-clip otherwise? So looks like it's pretty stuck on there. Here it comes. Somebody had some heavy test line on there. That looks like it's 12-pound test. And get that off of there. Put that in the parts tray. And now take off the side plate. And hopefully not break off the heads on these screws, which I've been known to do. Well, that looks like it's been boogered up. Looks kind of funky. Not quite shaped like I might expect it. We'll have to play around with that and see if that needs to kind of be bent back into shape. It just looks a little funky, but let's see what we got here. So on these, of course, the teeth on this in a reverse gear face towards the rear of the reel. So we'll pull that off, and then there's going to be, it looks like a pretty thick fiber drag washer on there. And then there should be another drag washer here. That's the thin one. And so, let's see. I think this bushing comes out too, yes. Pull that bushing. That's actually got some oil still in there that isn't dry. But that's pretty much all there is to disassembly. We'll take these parts to the sink, scrub them down with a toothbrush with some warm water and Dawn dish soap, and in some cases WD-40, especially making sure to get down into the journals where the shafts go. And come back and we'll be back just like that. Alright, let's get all these parts laid out. And hit these various shafts with some steel wool. Now this in here, gosh, it's hard to believe that that's grease. It's coming off of there. That's possible, but it's coming off of there like glue. And it wasn't really dissolving with the WD-40. Whoops. I suppose it could be grease, but I just have a feeling. I don't know if that bushing came out or something at one point. Somebody glued it. I mean, it's possible it could be grease, but I'm not seeing it anywhere else on the reel and the gears or anything, so I don't know. But I gotta get that. I gotta get that off of there. And then it looks like it's up in here too. I guess it, this would be a place that you might expect to find grease, but also, if this thing popped out, you might expect to find glue up there too. But it's all over in that groove where the, I think that's where the E-clip goes. I just wonder if this whole thing didn't pop out and somebody glued it. I think this is all one piece. This goes down, this part here goes all the way down. That's part of that bushing there, or whatever you want to call it. And my guess is that slid out and somebody glued it. Okay. Now we should be ready to lube and reassemble. I'm going to start off with a little oil on this anti-reverse pawl pivot point. And reassemble the main gear shaft and drag. So the thin fiber washer goes on first, then your main gear, then the thick fiber washer, and then your anti-reverse gear with the teeth facing towards the rear of the reel. That's keyed, so get that thing on there, right? And then we have this little spring. The extent to which we need to monkey with reshaping that is based on how well the anti-reverse works, I guess. Most let's just see if we can't get this a little bit more round. It needs to kind of hug that thick drag washer. So that's better, as long as that end reaches the notch on that anti-reverse pawl. Yeah, that's hugging it a little bit better. So I want to grease this shaft here. We want to, I'm sorry, oil. I want to oil this bushing, put that bushing in there. And we'll set this in and try to get that little end of that spring to fit in that little notch right there. I believe that's how it goes. Oh. The other way to do this, seems like I've done this before, is put your anti-reverse down and then your gear, and then put your washer in. Well, let's see here. Let's get this to fit a little bit better. And then stick that thing on, so now you know it's in where it's supposed to go. And then run this down through. Now let's see. Okay, now it's working. So sometimes you just have, it's kind of a cumbersome, but sometimes you just have to stack those in there first to get that little nipple on that spring to go into the anti-reverse pawl. So now we're ready for our, let's see here, our tension washer, and the concave side faces up, or out, I should say. And then carefully put on the star drag adjuster, being careful not to cross thread that. And then our crank handle, and finally our nut. I mean, I don't really want to tighten it down any tight. I think it's stripped anyway, but I'm not going to over strip it. I can always put a little Loctite, thread stuff in there if I'm really worried about that, which I might be, but it seems to be unreasonably well. All right, so now we want to end up taking and greasing the main gear. And the pinion gear. And put a little bit of oil up underneath that pinion gear. Work that in. And some oil on the shaft. And pop that back into place. Work that in. Lightly grease around the spool shaft. Make sure the little post there fits into one of those holes on the body of the reel so it snugs in there. Get our E-clip. Not really an E-clip, is it? It's a, I guess, more of a C-clip for a change. Probably some of that glue still confounding that groove. Okay, and now a little oil on the pickup pin. Work that in. Line up the two flat spots. Get our nut back on. Just something about these Shakespeares, they just seem tight despite really being greased up, and properly maintained and serviced. They just seem to still be somewhat tight. I don't think this is moving much more freely than it did before I started, but at least I know it's fully lubricated and properly serviced. So now we can put a little bit of oil on the pivot point for the button, and we should be able to ready to button this thing up all together. And of course check our drag. So holding on to the spool Very little drag right now. Tighten that down a little bit. A lot more drag. Tighten a little bit more, can barely move it. So drag seems to be working fine. This one has multiple drain holes, so it doesn't really matter how you put the cap back on. We'll try to get the pretty side up. And there you have it. A Shakespeare number 1702. The 1700 space 2 model DJ, first produced in 1972. Ready to go fishing again. Probably put some 8-pound test on that. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching.